I get to study the brain and behavior. I'm interested in people and what we can learn from their experiences. Come explore the wonderful world of mental health with me. In this video, we'll be exploring some of the things that can happen in our internal world when we're trying to use coping strategies or coping mechanisms for symptoms of depression. In this video, I want to get into what a coping skill actually is and what it may look like or feel like when you're practicing it. Remember, this isn't medical advice. These are just some tips and tricks that I found living in the world and talking to other people who live in the world. So talk to your medical provider, figure out what's exactly going on in your case and how to treat it. All right, so let's get down to business. So you think you might be depressed. If you've done enough Googling, you've probably heard about coping mechanisms or coping skills. There's a misconception about coping skills that if you do a coping mechanism of some sort, that's just it. You've done it. You've coped. You're not sad anymore, right? Not true, right? Like somebody says, just have a hot bath. You take a hot bath and then you still feel sad. So it didn't work, right? Sometimes a hot bath is what you need, but most of the time, a coping mechanism like that in and of itself isn't often enough. So what are coping mechanisms? Coping mechanisms are simply the things that we do to cope with the world around us. You go outside, the sun is really bright, you put on sunglasses. That's a coping mechanism. In order to survive, we have to cope with tons of stressors in our environment and within our own minds and bodies. In the context of depression, coping includes all the things that we do to survive. And that survival is important, right? It is the first step in recovery. It is the base. But what I want to focus on in this video are more of the things you do to get past survival, right? So maybe you're living with some depression symptoms, you're getting by, but you're not where you want to be, and you want to use some coping mechanisms that actually work to help you get out of the funk. So what do? Pay attention to how you treat yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Do you call yourself names? Maybe you walk away from an interaction with a friend saying, "Oh, I'm so stupid, why did I say that?" Maybe you criticize what you did or didn't do that day, or what you got done or what you have left to do. "Oh, I didn't do anything." Worthless, right? Pay attention to how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself. Most of that happens internally, right? Sometimes we say those things out loud, but a lot of times we say a lot more on the inside. So if you find that when you listen to how you talk to yourself, if you find, as many of us do, that we're often very critical, very negative, very even cruel to ourselves, what I think is most helpful is making the conscious choice to be nicer to ourselves. Maybe you walk away from an interaction with a friend feeling like you said the wrong thing. You didn't do enough. Maybe you start that degradation, like, I'm the worst. That sort of language starts to come up. So choosing to be nicer could look like, you know what? I did my best. In that moment, I did the best that I could do, and maybe I would do things differently if I was feeling well, but I'm not feeling well right now. So I did my best. That's a way of being nicer to yourself. Would it be great if you could say, I love myself, I am a good person, I am happy with who I am? Yes, that would be great. If you're not there yet, that's okay. Things you can do to get yourself closer to feeling more content is to be kinder to yourself when you're interacting with yourself in your own mind. You can imagine somebody who's being bullied, just incessantly bullied 24/7, when they look in the mirror, when they start their day, when they say something, when they don't say something, that bully shows up and says, "You're the worst, you suck, you're not worth it." You can imagine the person who's experiencing that bullying might feel like shit. That voice, that bully, is depression. That voice is going to put a negative spin on everything, but you can decide whether or not you want to listen to it. That voice will guilt trip you, it will criticize you, but just because it finds something to criticize doesn't mean there's actually anything to criticize. So a great coping mechanism for this is to tell yourself the opposite of what that internal bully is telling you. Bullies don't bully based on things that people should actually change. They're not like, haha, you have poor communication skills. No, right? They're saying things like, oh, your hair looks stupid. Uh, Bullies don't know what they're talking about. Whatever they're telling you is bullshit, right? A bully is not going to tell you something that is productive, that you can actually change, that will help you to live a happier life. Bullies are there to bully, right? By definition, they just put you down. So whatever the bully is telling you is a lie. If the bully says, oh, you're so lazy, you didn't get anything done today, push back. The voice is not right. Allow yourself to rest if you're tired. Many folks who are experiencing depression hear that guilt trip all day, that bully just criticizing what they do, criticizing that they're so tired that they're in bed. And many people find that they end up not feeling rested, even if you rested all day, but you don't feel rested because that bully has been there berating you the entire time. So a way to push back against that is, if you're feeling tired, rest. Tell yourself that you're resting because you're tired and your body needs it. Tell yourself that you're choosing to rest because you're tired. If you truly allow yourself to rest, if you really quiet that bully, let it go. If it wants to criticize, it can do it somewhere else. If you truly let that go and allow yourself to rest, you may find that the rest that you get is more restorative. If you truly allow yourself to rest, you may find that rest to be more rejuvenating than the rest that you get when you sort of resign yourself to resting because you can't get going. The next one is live for the future you, if not the present you. Not caring about yourself, your future, your well-being, those are symptoms of depression. So if you're at this point in the video and you're saying, I'm just gonna not, well, of course you're saying that, because if you're watching this, you're probably feeling depressed. Just because present day you doesn't feel like you matter doesn't mean you actually don't matter. So if you feel like you're not motivated to care for yourself and the version of yourself who's here today, maybe you can think about caring for the future version of you, the version you haven't met yet, the version that is working on building the life that they want to live, the version that has the life that you would like to have. Care for the version of you that's surrounded by loved ones, that remembers to stop and smell the roses, that feels the sun in their skin and feels joy. The person who gives love and receives love well, who works and feels fulfilled. That person is built on the foundation that you're creating now. Build a future for them. Maybe you don't want to build a future for yourself, but build a future for that person. But what if I don't wanna? I like to tell my patients that oftentimes recovery looks like faking it. And I don't mean faking it to other people. I don't mean the fake smile that you wear all day at work. I mean fake it until you make it with yourself. You may not want to be nice to yourself. Do it anyway. You may think that this is not going to change anything. Do it anyway. You may do it consistently for a week and not notice any changes. Keep doing it anyway. If you keep up with your coping mechanisms consistently, you'll start to notice progress. If you don't see progress, that's information you can use. That tells you that something needs to change. That's how coping works. You try something out and you see if it works for you. Not every strategy works or works for every person every time. But the action itself of taking that step could become something really positive and beneficial. By doing small things, you're indirectly telling yourself that you matter. And you may not believe it right now, but you do. Remember that you are the only you that has ever existed or will ever exist. You are the only person in the world who has been through your life. Past, present, future, you're the only one. Who you are is valuable. We need you. Recovery from depression often looks like tiny, incremental changes over time. Eventually, you look back to where you started and you see that you've not only dug yourself out of that hole, but you've climbed halfway up a mountain. Find some coping strategies that work for you. And you do that by practice, by trying them out repeatedly over and over, different circumstances, and sticking with it with time. I hope this video is helpful for you. Hope you got some ideas of some different types of coping mechanisms that could be useful in your recovery from depression symptoms. Remember to take care of yourself, be kind to yourself, and come back for the next video. Bye.